Hey everyone, it's the Biohacking Blondes here. I'm Molly Siegel and I'm here with Alexandra Cochran. Very excited to have another episode. This is episode 3. So we're very thrilled to um and so today we're going to talk a little bit about gluten, which I know a lot of people have a lot to say about, and there's a lot of, controversial opinions about it. But first we'd like to kind of talk about our week. So Alex, do you want to talk a little bit about what you've been up to this week? I know you've been very busy.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Great to be here again. Yeah, I just literally sat down in the chair here in Vero Beach after spending, I would say, since 9 o'clock this morning. I've been down in Palm Beach and I have been training people on how to use the red bed that I got installed in one of the clinics down there. And I was also presenting Scandi Labs. To 4 different clinics down there to carry my formulation, but also inquiring about other biohacking modalities for them to use. So that was really exciting. I also was down meeting with Elizabeth Tringali, which she is a very, very high-end functional medicine doctor who I love down in Palm Beach Gardens. And she also has another clinic in Palm Beach. And I met with her again today. We're looking at, she got one of our big red beds, which is a 9600, which is really a powerhouse, incredible. And she's also going to carry Scandi Labs. And we were also looking at what you can do for a second clinic in Palm Beach. So it's a little smaller space. So we looked at different kind of biohacking options and modalities. So that was super fun. And then what else? Yeah, we had a big birthday party this weekend, which was wonderful. And we had some friends over last night. And then I've also been, working a lot with actually my second and third product. I'm getting quite exciting because I'm looking at 2 different options for Scandi Labs, which is an NAD product is one option,
Oh,
and I think I'm going to go forward with that. But I'm also going to go forward with a mushroom blend, which I'm very excited about. And I got introduced to a manufacturer in Finland and also another one in Oregon. So I'm looking at those options, and also I have really curated and prepared this Super Viking protocol that I'm going to be spearheading at Pure, hopefully very soon.
yeah.
So I think that's me, Molly. I've been rambling here now. I think you should take charge. What have you been up to? More importantly,
Absolutely.
you've had fun.
Well, I do want to hear more about your NAD product too, and probably people want to know what that is and why they should have it. But we can talk about that in a few minutes. But this weekend, so for me, I was at Disney all weekend actually with my daughter and family,
Ooh,
and we had a very fun time. And it was, the usual, lots of, standing around and waiting for things and whatnot. But we got, these fancy lightning passes, and we kind of learned all the lingo, and went online and got in lines and got on all the rides early and all this stuff. But what I wanted to say is that when I got there, we had booked all of our reservations, and under the reservations for dining, you can select if you have any food allergies, which of course my little group has all kinds of issues. So including myself. So we had put in all the reservations that we have, there's gluten and dairy allergies. So when we would arrive at the tables, the waiter would come up to us, and they'd give us a sheet of everything on the menu and what it had in it, and what allergen there was in it or not, which was amazing. It was like a little pamphlet, like an allergy guide.
that's
Um,
amazing.
it was just
Oh, wow.
amazing. I mean, for
Well,
me, it just made me so happy because it is such a like it's really can be a pain to have to like ask your server, okay, can you, find this for me or find that for me, and then they have to go talk to the chef and and it just complicates things. But it just shows that Disney they really do care about their clients, their members. People, when you show up, they're like, how can we help you? They really want to be of service to you, which I just find so refreshing, because not every place is like that, as you know.
right. And
Yeah.
like just to inflict on that, 8 years ago I was at Disney and there was nothing I could eat. I mean, it was really, really like there was nothing I could eat. It
Yeah,
was very hard. So they must have really, really listened to this and taken a change, right? I
I
mean,
think so.
this that's
Absolutely.
incredible.
Especially for kids too, who are going through things. I mean, I think they probably had to learn the hard way too. Like, kids get sick, or they, are having some sort of issue when they eat a food, like I think it's best to get ahead of that, right? It's like
Oh,
how can we
oh
make
yeah.
this experience really healthy and happy, and plus it just makes them look so informed, like so like intelligent, I think,
Mhm.
and well
Mhm.
informed and caring about their clients. So in any case, I just thought it was great. And then, there was even a part on the back of the pamphlet every time you got to a restaurant, there was a part that says, and like on top of all the other stuff, here, this is all we have on our menu, and here's what's gluten-free and what's not. And there was like check marks and X's on things, right? And then on the back, it was like, if you want to order something special, please just ask us. And it would be like, oh, does your child want gluten-free waffles? Or do they want, a dairy-free, milkshake or whatever, so it was kind of just like, it just was so lovely. I was kind of in shock
You
about the whole
you
thing.
go back just for the food.
Well, exactly. And they have great food there too, which is also surprising. And if you go to Epcot, you can have a whole array of things, which is fabulous. But
But you
this
do.
sort of is a nice segue into what we wanted to talk about today too, right? Because
Yes.
gluten, believe it or not, is not in the holistic community, but everywhere else it seems to be a controversial subject. And going to Disney and seeing it there, like almost it like really registers for me as like this is a major brand. Disney's massive, I don't know, billion-dollar company, and they are making it a priority to help people who have food allergies. um and I think, the interesting thing about gluten is here's what I know. And I know that, conventional medicine sort of has a different approach, and we're going to talk about this. But gluten, the word gluten literally means glue in Latin. So gluten is effectively a long, very long, sticky molecule, right? So we don't actually, as humans, have the enzymes to break it down completely. We do our best, but it doesn't always break down completely. And this is for all humans. This isn't like some people can break it down and other people can't. It literally is everyone like has a problem breaking it down. And then, it depends on the person, and some people can tolerate it better, right? But for the most part, what's happening is that gluten molecule goes down into your small intestine, and it kind of sticks to the mucosal barrier lining of your small intestine, and it can rip it open. Kind of like, I always give the analogy of like my daughter's silly putty. Like, she was playing in the back of the car with her silly putty, and she got it on her teddy bear, and now we have just silly putty on the teddy bear, like it's never going to come out ever. Like it
That's a
does.
great analogy. I love it.
Right, and it like rips out the hair. We're trying to like rip out the silly putty off the bear, and it's like ripping the hair out. That's kind of like what gluten is, right? It's this sticky molecule that sticks to the lining of your small intestine and can rip apart that wall. And that wall is also what, in holistic medicine and functional medicine, we call leaky gut, right? When the
Mhm.
holes in that wall are broken and injured, then all of a sudden, food that wouldn't necessarily be a problem can get into the bloodstream that way. Because there's just like this small filter, that little one cell thick wall is difficult. It's difficult for the food can't come through, and you don't want it to get into that cell lining. Otherwise, it goes all the way into the bloodstream. It can then that gluten can get to your brain, it can get to different parts of the body. It can be really,
Mhm.
problematic. Um,
So,
so go ahead.
yeah, well, so I just want to. So I think, I mean, a big problem in gluten too is the glyphosate, which is that's more problematic, I think, than the gluten itself, which is what they spray all the crops with. So
Yeah.
I think that is a big problem. And the other thing is, a lot of I haven't touched gluten myself for 20 years plus, but I think a lot of my friends, they don't have problem with gluten in Europe, but they have problem with gluten in the US.
Yeah.
So again, I've spoken to a couple of kind of functional medicine doctors about it, and then they say that it comes down to the glyphosate that we use to spray all the crops with. So do you want to kind of give a
Yeah.
little opinion
Well,
about that?
there's definitely that issue, but also there's the issue of, I mean, all of it's multifactorial, right? It's not just the gluten molecule, it's the glyphosate that's also sprayed on the wheat. It's also the fact that the wheat is a genetically modified
Mm.
seed. So then what they do is they make super gluten seeds that produce 10 times the amount of gluten that our original old wheat used to do.
Mm,
So so
right.
so the wheat that we're eating now has a lot more gluten than for even our parents or grandparents ever used to eat. So when you're having a piece of bread now, it's not the piece of bread that your parents even ate,
Right.
20,
It's the
25
super
years.
gluten bread.
Right. So
Yeah.
so that's the other problem because your body can tolerate it to some degree, right? But then when we have people who are sick or already have issues, then they eat it and then it makes everything worse, right?
Hmm.
So as a rule, like in functional nutrition and in functional medicine, when we see a person who's sick or not feeling well, and we look at the gut and our GI map will tell us your zonulin level. So if your zonulin level is really high, it means you have a quote leaky gut. So the first thing that we do as practitioners is we remove any kind of stressor that would be making that leaky gut worse. And the first thing to remove is gluten because it can have a negative effect on that wall, just because of the reasons I just described. It doesn't even mean that you have a quote gluten allergy or intolerance. It literally is just like this is a stressor that the body, when it's really healthy, can manage, but when you're not feeling well, it can't manage as well. And it's a good thing to remove, even temporarily, to heal the gut lining so that you can get better. And like, for example, when you have leaky gut, you can have all other kinds of symptoms and problems too, right? You can have headaches or like in your case with Hashimoto's, the gluten molecule actually escapes into the bloodstream and it looks a lot like a thyroid molecule. And so there's this thing called molecular mimicry where your body is actually attacking the gluten in the bloodstream. And at the same time, it gets confused and starts attacking your thyroid cells as well. Because it's just a you're having this crazy hyperimmune response, right, to the gluten. So that's just another example of like what it can do to you, right? And you
Yeah.
can a lot of like neurological problems too are related to gluten. For example, uh, ADHD, there's a strong connection there. Autistic kids can typically do a lot better when they go off gluten. It lessens the symptoms. And just a whole slew of other problems, just like the attention and deficit disorder, all those things. So it's good to remove it if you think you're having symptoms or having some sort of issue. And unfortunately, it doesn't always show up as a stomach problem. Like people think, oh, I eat it and my stomach doesn't hurt, so I'm fine. Um, and the people who do have stomach problems are actually lucky because they're in the kind of minority. Like they know
Mm.
they're having a gut problem, so they react and they say, oh my gosh, something really is affecting my stomach when I eat this. But not everyone feels that way. So it's an interesting, thing. It can affect everyone very differently. And I think that's why it's sort of confusing to people. But, in the medical community, it's interesting. Like my story going back is I always had really bad sort of H. pylori issues where I would have like this like belching problem, or every time I would eat, I would feel like I had this pain in my chest, like there was like gas stuck there. It was kind of this like big upper GI problem that I had for years, and I went to see every gastroenterologist. I went to the best gastroenterologist in New York in Westchester County. I went to the I saw multiple people. I got an endoscopy, which is where they put you out and they, scope your throat to make sure that you don't have any sort of like cancer or eroding of the esophagus. So I did all these things, right? And at the end of it, they were like, "You're fine." There were the results of the endoscopy were fine. You have a little erosion of the esophagus. We're just going to put you on, a PPI.
Medication.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
And which lowers your stomach acid, which actually is kind of the worst thing you can do.
Right.
It temporarily makes the problem a little bit better, but in the long run, it lowers your stomach acid even more and causes even worse, like belching and pain and all of that, like heartburn kind of feeling when when you eat, because your body's not able to actually digest using the stomach acid, so you can't digest protein well, blah blah blah. So it's kind of so the
Oh,
whole thing is interesting, right? And I never had a single gastroenterologist ask me about what I ate. Like not one. Like and these
that's
are the
shocking.
best doctors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um and in New York, and you would think I'm seeing the best of the best. Like I don't understand what's going on. And I have friends who they've talked to doctor like they're on boards and committees and things on hospitals, and they tell me, oh, like I've talked to the best gastroenterologists and they all say gluten is a joke, like everybody can eat gluten, it's not a problem. And I think that this is where things differ in the functional world
Yeah.
versus the medical world, where they don't really get a lot of nutrition training. And I think they really just don't have a grip on how food really makes such a big difference. And dialing it down and eating the right things and like sort of avoiding certain things can make you feel a lot better. That's
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like day and night. I remember when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, well, 16 years ago, in London, and I went to see the top thyroid autoimmune Hashimoto's doctor. It was a Japanese man on Harley Street, and he was so highly regarded. And I remember asking him, what is there anything I can do, lifestyle modifications to make this better? And he's like, nah, that is nothing. Anything I should not be eating? Oh no, it doesn't matter. So
yeah.
that was the same answer I got. And I remember it didn't sit well. It didn't feel right when he said that to me. And again, I come from living on gluten at that time. I lived on sugar and the slimming pills and the coffee and that. But when I would eat, I avoided, like from I was about 16 years old, I avoided protein, and I ate basically bread because I thought that was really smart. I ate bread and candy.
Oh
That was
no.
like really, oh yeah, that was like really genius, right? So, so no wonder, I ended up in the pits after my first kid. But same type of experience, Molly, with me and the medical doctors. How, oh no, there's no connection. There's
Right.
no connection between what you eat and the symptoms that you're
Yeah.
experiencing. And I think, I mean, that's why both you and I are doing what we're doing, and
Yeah.
really spreading the message, right? Like, listen and hear it, and if you hear it and try it, and then go and spread the word to your friend. Tap one person a day and tell them, right, to make a difference, because it's very important. It can change, really, really change how someone feels and
Yeah.
everything, right?
Oh yeah. And I do feel though that like as a practitioner and working with clients and stuff, I do get a lot of pushback on the gluten, right? Because gluten has like a morphinogenic property to it, so it has a little bit of an effect like you're taking a drug, right? The same thing with cheese. It has a
Peace. Yeah.
morphines in it. So they're very addictive, right?
Yeah.
So if I told a client okay, you just have to go off broccoli for the next month, they're not gonna complain and cry, they're not gonna be
Right.
like, "Oh, no, we can't have broccoli."
Right. Right.
But if I say, "Oh, we have to take out gluten," it becomes a fight with me, and I can see how doctors in the, medical space don't wanna fight. They wanna find the easiest method to getting people, like, let's just give you 1 pill a day, that's all people are capable of. They aren't capable of changing their diet. And on some level, I can see why they feel that way, because there are a lot of people who actually really struggle with changing the diet.
Yeah.
They don't wanna follow the protocol, they don't want to I'm constantly talking to people and they're like, "I slipped up this week, I just like went crazy over gluten and I ate all this and I'm like I try to remind them that it is an addictive substance basically like that the
Right.
reason that they put so much gluten in those GMO seeds is because it's addictive, and they want to make food that you want to buy. And so, they want to make the best tasting bread, or they want to make the best tasting ice cream. Like they put gluten in ice cream to make it more, like gooey and stick together better, right? It's like used as kind of like an emulsifier.
Right.
They even put it in ketchup.
It's
So
in ketchup? I didn't know that.
it can be in some ketchups if and I don't know if they've taken it out now, but you'll see there are ketchups that say gluten-free on them now, because what it does is it's an emulsifier, right? So it gives it that perfect little squeeze, like when you squeeze it, so it's not watery, you know?
Oh
So
my God, I didn't even realize that. I should be knowing that. That's
yeah,
so
well, if you
fun.
buy an organic brand of ketchup, typically they've already covered that.
Right.
So, I don't know if the other ones are still doing it or not, but that is on like my list that I send people. It's like, okay, check your ketchup just to make
Right.
sure, and there's all these other names they use for gluten that I have like a sheet for that I can show people. But
So,
it's
so
addictive. So it's
it's
hard
addictive.
to give up.
Right. But Molly, tell me, if you have a patient or a client that, let's say, oh, I screwed up this weekend, right? What do you tell them? Or let's say if you have even an autoimmune patient, right? Let's say I was your patient and I screwed up this weekend. Well, like what do you tell them and what does it actually do to them? Like, what about a little screw up? What about a little piece of like a crumble of a cake? Is that okay? So,
Well, it
okay.
depends. Right. It
Tell the
depends.
audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it depends on the person. So again, if you're dealing with a lot of symptoms, you have a really leaky gut, for example, you have really high zonulin on your GI map stool test, then I would be like, this is not you can't have gluten right now because it's just going to further the problem. And what you try to hope to do is have them at least do it for 28 days, and then they can feel the difference. You can feel like I remember when I finally was able to do it. And by the way, it was hard for me to change too. Like this isn't like it's like we're perfect and everybody else isn't. Like
No, no,
like
it's hard.
this is a very hard thing, and I honestly think it takes years to finally
Mhm.
sort of master in a way. And even I slip up. I mean, I've been eating out all weekend at Disney. Like I'm sure there was something I ate that had something in it potentially. But you know, if you it's not what they say is that one intake of gluten can actually cause an immune reaction for up to 6 months. But I
Okay.
don't wanna deter people by saying that because it's gonna happen. We live in a world where it's everywhere. Like, you would have to eat at home and be very, very regimented in order to completely avoid it. But I do think that if you get to a place where you're avoiding it at least, like, 80% of the time, that you're doing such a great job already with that, that your body can handle it, right? Like, what happened in the past is, like, when our parents' generation, right? They were able to handle it really well because it wasn't this super duper amount of gluten that they were eating. Um,
Mhm.
and right now, what's happening is like the standard American diet is basically this. It's like you wake up, you eat cereal, then for lunch, you have a sandwich, which is gluten, cereal's gluten, and then for dinner, you have pasta or a burger or, and bread, right? And so that's just like if you do that every single day, that's just an onslaught of gluten, right? And so your small intestine is not able to heal from that. So what happens is when the gluten comes in, it creates a hole in the cell lining. And then what hopefully happens is you go to bed and then your stomach fixes itself, right? Because that's what happens when we sleep. Our body starts to repair itself. And the lining can get fixed fairly easily if you're a healthy person, right? So this is happening even in people who don't have an intolerance to gluten whatsoever, right? It's like their lining is just closing up nicely. But the older you get and the quote sicker you get, or the more symptoms you have, the more likely you are to have a reaction to that gluten. So it becomes like, you may not feel anything by going off of it for a week or even 2 weeks, but, like, most people after 28 days, they're like, "Whoa," like a brain fog lifted, and I try to get to that place with them, like, "How long can we go? Can we get can we get to 28 days?" Like, that's sort of the goal, but they fall back, and then you just keep going, and you keep trying, and you try to hit that 28-day mark, and then all of a sudden, there's this realization of, like, "Wow, like, I actually feel much better." When I'm not taking it. And this depends on how sick the person is, right? So you
And Molly, what do you tell them to do? Like, is there any like for people that listen to this? Is there any like practical tools that you use? Like, oh, I can't stop eating that lovely white bread that I've been eating for the past 20 years. That loaf of bread that like lasts for 6 weeks in my bread
Right.
drawer. You know, what do you recommend people to do?
Well, there are a lot of great alternatives now, right? I mean, there's
Right.
tons of great foods out there. That I mean, I even just bought a sourdough that's like a gluten-free sourdough bread from a company actually that's an amazing local brand. So I think
What are
that
they called? What are they called? I want to know.
so I think it's bread like hold on, let me look it up because I have to seriously bread or something. I'll have to go find it for you, but it's seriously bread or something like that.
Ooh, and they're
I'll
based in
link to
Europe.
it afterward.
Oh
But they
yeah.
have really, really good sourdough. I've been ordering it for a while. And then they also have different, they have like a there are great replacements. Like they even have like a cinnamon roll one. Like
Great.
and these are just gluten free. It doesn't necessarily mean they're quote healthy, but they are a bread that
Right.
you enjoy, I mean, it's like
So I
that's
think,
missing.
I mean, there is, I would say, a misconception of a lot of people. They think, oh, I'm eating gluten free, so I can have, I can have 6 slices instead of one, So
Yeah.
I think that's not the case, right? We still don't go overboard. Just kind of replace it, right? But don't. That doesn't mean you can have like tons of the gluten free stuff.
Right, exactly. Because it is still a starch. So we still have to remember that it's a starchy, refined carbohydrate. So
It will
that is
spike your
still going to,
glucose.
right, that's still going to spike your glucose and that's still going to, cause issues like that. So the company is called Bread Seriously. So it's bread and then SRSLY and it's a gluten-free sourdough brand. And
Oh, how cool is that?
yeah,
That's
it's
super
really
cool.
good.
And
Um,
I think, and can we just say something there also to kind of stop? I mean, it's another subject, but to stop that glucose spike, to eat some protein before you actually eat the starch or the carbohydrate.
yeah.
That will stop that intense spike, which is very helpful as well. So think, some eggs with your toast or some, even avocado with your toast, and like let's layer it and let's not just have it naked, right? That carbohydrate because it spikes too much.
Yeah, and even a vinegar product like if you guys follow the glucose goddess, she's amazing. She comes up with all these techniques. She uses a continuous glucose monitor to test her blood to see how certain foods affect her glucose. And this is all like glucose basically has to do with weight gain, right? Like whenever I say like, oh, your glucose is high, like that means you're going to likely gain weight, right? So this is like a whole discussion around and that isn't the only thing that high glucose can do. It can make you anxious. It can make your cortisol go up. But, there's all these various things that we want to always be kind
Lump,
of level.
higher. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so she measures her glucose. And so if you eat a pear with by itself, let's say, for example, she measures her glucose, the glucose spike goes up, or if you eat a piece of bread, it goes up really high. And then if you add, for example, like an almond butter to eat with the pear or to eat with the bread, it much lower glucose spike. So that's a huge, great tip. And then the vinegar too, just putting a little drinking like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in your water before you eat a meal that can help lower your glucose too. She tested all of these things and all of them are on her Instagram page if people want to go see.
Yeah,
Um,
she's cool.
yeah, she's great. So there's a lot that can be done, but as far as gluten is concerned, it can be okay for some people who are robustly healthy and they don't have any symptoms and they're doing great and things like that. They can kind of take the hit, so to speak, in their small intestine. But if you're struggling with an autoimmune disorder, or if you are feeling really fatigued, or if you have really bad brain fog or things like that, then it might be something to consider pulling out of the diet.
Yeah, Somalia. I mean, we had this weekend. We had one of Hugh's, my husband's old friends, visiting from Connecticut, and he got 3 years ago. He got diagnosed with a really, really rare form of an autoimmune disease, which basically stretches your skin, and
Mm.
then like it's actually quite
Sarcopenia?
detrimental.
Sarcopenia?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. That's the one. And he now has started. He started the cold plunges. He just started the infrared beds, which I got him onto actually this weekend, and then he's going to continue up there. And then, well, he says he has a protocol that him and my husband they kind of crafted, and it's called half day wellness. So you can
Cool.
imagine what that means. Well, I don't know how cool that is because it was like the thing, 5 o'clock, and then they were having their cocktails, and then like
Oh, I
they
see.
went loose. Let's put it that way, right? So half day wellness. So they were really great. They were doing Wim Hof breathing, cold plunging, infrared light, drinking my shots, my ginger shots, my turmeric shots, Scandi labs. I mean, the whole program was great until 5 o'clock. Then it fell apart. Now, I asked him, I said, like, what do you eat? And he's like, well, I kind of eat everything, and I love the pasta and the bread, right? I said, for you, Wordsy, it's non-negotiable. It has to go. Like it's non-negotiable. He's got such a severe autoimmune that it's actually non-negotiable. It has to go. The gluten and the dairy and the soy just has to go, and even the corn and the sugar. So, now I think that if you're sick like that, you kind of got to make the choice, and whatever is, you know, you have different rules almost. You gotta work a little harder at it, right? Because you're already quite sick.
Yeah, and it's funny that illness really is a lesson, right? And it's a
Mhm.
way there's
Mhm.
this quote that says it's like a lesson to a higher order. Like it teaches you something to have an illness that teaches you that, you have to control yourself a little bit and you have to be able to control the things that you can control. Like there are things that are out of our control in many cases.
Mhm.
Like there are certain stressors that are out of your control. There are certain, and stress has a huge impact on illness.
Mhm.
But with food, you can remove some of those stressors and make it easier on your body to heal. And for some people, it can be life changing just to remove gluten and dairy, and
Yes.
they immediately get better. I mean, I know, for example, with kids, like that's a very easy trick in the book. I mean, you remove those and boom, you're like, you know,
They're a different kid.
they're like
They're
a
different.
different kid. Yeah, totally. And, my daughter included, like I took her off gluten completely. We don't have gluten at our house, but she does eat it at school. And I made her lunch for 2 weeks because she had a rash breakout on the back of her knee, an eczema breakout. And this is another thing that gluten can cause. It's different kinds of skin issues, right? Um,
Mhm.
because that lining is being disrupted in the gut, right? And if there's another stressor causing, the gut to also open up, like just stress in general, then then you're going to start to see, sometimes an eczema behind the joints, right? Like behind the knees or on the elbows and places like that. And for her, I just completely removed the gluten for 2 weeks. I'm like, let's see if not eating it at school is going to help you. And it went away. So,
Incredible,
right.
incredible. And if you there had gone to the doctor, he would have given her, the steroid creams and
Yep.
all that. Again, treating the surface, right? But
Yep.
you, knowing what you went deep, and I mean that's incredible. Everyone needs to know that.
Yeah, and it's just works so quickly in kids. That's why kids are so great to work with this.
Oh my God,
Yeah, the
because
only
they're
the hard thing is getting them to, the school lunches, or we can, you and I could talk about the school lunches that could be a whole nother episode.
right. Well,
But,
yeah.
it's tricky there, and I called them, and I tried to talk to the chef, and I haven't been able to get, a response back yet, and it's just kind of like it's a pain to organize it.
Mhm.
But in any case, there's so many benefits to it for very simple things, like a little bout of eczema or a little bit of this or that here and there, and, it just makes such a difference in some people, and
Oh,
in some
oh.
people, the neurological side effects are even bigger, like in ADHD. If you've got a kid who has really bad ADHD, and has been diagnosed and is on medication, I would highly recommend just doing a trial
Yeah.
of taking out gluten for a month. Try to do it for 28 days. Send them to school with a lunchbox, where they only eat what's in your lunchbox and it's all gluten-free material, and see how that affects their performance at school, if they're able to concentrate better, if they're able to feel better during the day. And I would put money on the fact that it would improve. I mean, it might not get rid of it entirely, but I think
Big
it does
improvement.
it does make a big improvement. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. No, no, it's at least to try, right? At least to try. It's worth the try if you're struggling, right? If you're struggling with your children or with your own health, I mean, I think it's a very big thing, and it's kind of one of the first things I always say has to go. You
Yeah.
know, it has to go, and try and find, I think also the key is to find good alternatives to replace it with.
Yeah.
Um, so find that thing that you can actually, I'm okay with that, right?
Yep.
So, right, I mean, for me, it was that, and also I used to eat a lot of like sugary candy, like a lot.
Yeah.
And for me, the trick was finding dark chocolate. So I found really, really good dark chocolate. And the thing is, you can't pig out on that, like you can't, because you're satisfied after a couple of pieces.
Right. It's super rich.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
super rich. So I think, find those things that kind of can satisfy you. You'll be okay with that,
Right.
you know?
Another nugget of information is like if you go off gluten, you immediately take out so much of like this refined carbohydrate in your diet. It immediately changes like everything. And you could lose like 10 pounds in a month if you just go off gluten. And I tell people this all the time. They don't believe me. And then we do it and they're like, "Oh my God, like
Right.
I feel like I'm eating more but I just cut out the bread, the gluten mostly, and I actually feel like, oh my gosh, the weight is dropping." And that's because it can really cause inflammation in different parts of the body. Like it
And it
can,
retains water. You
yes,
retain water with gluten. I mean, hugely,
yeah,
hugely. I
yeah.
remember my friend, she didn't believe me that I couldn't eat gluten. So one night, I had soy sauce, I remember. And yeah, I had soy sauce. And then obviously that's salt as well. It's salt and gluten, right? So the next morning, she looked at me and she's like, okay, Alex, I get what you're saying. She never challenged me on it again because I was basically a beach ball
Yeah.
everywhere. I couldn't get my rings on, my ankles were swollen, and my
Oh
face
yeah.
was like,
And I
like, yeah.
Yeah, and I see all these things online too where people are like, "Oh, you wake up and your eyes are puffy," and they tell you to put roll cold compresses on your eyes, and they're like, "Oh, everyone has puffy." They wake up with this puffiness, and I'm like, "Just go off the gluten, the puffiness will disappear."
Yep. Yep. That's it. 100%.
And
It'll
it's
make
funny
it.
because people really don't equate that. They don't think, "Oh, what I eat is having any kind of effect on these things." They
Oh,
just think, "Oh, let me
oh,
put a cream or let me add something
no. It
else."
has effect to everything, and especially your energy levels. And I think you and I, we agree, like energy is life, right? The energy levels is what we really want to try and up, I think, for
Oh, yeah.
everyone,
Oh, yeah.
right?
And if you
Because
can
if you,
remove that gluten brain fog, you will
that's
be
right.
you'll be
Right.
you'll be like, "Wow, oh my gosh, I can, like, run around." I mean, I was thinking about it too when I was at Disney, and I wasn't eating any of that stuff, and I just kept going. I was just like, "Wow, I don't feel tired." I walked, like, 8 miles the first day, like, it's like
That's
an
awesome.
obscene amount of walking, and my daughter too, and we were just chugging along, not eating, like, happy, like, and then you see other people who are tired and they're
Right.
cranky,
Right.
like, "I need to go take a nap, and I can't walk anymore."
Right.
We're just like,
Puffy.
"Let's keep going." Yeah. So,
That's awesome. I
but it
love it.
but you don't realize that that's where that energy comes from. All of a sudden all of a sudden you don't have that, like, part of the day where you're like, "Oh, I'm so tired. I'm gonna," crank.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's big. So anyways, I think that was pretty informative. I think we covered quite a lot of things, Molly, there, and hopefully some tips for the audience, right?
Yeah, and like so now that I have it written down. It's Seriously Bread is SRSLY bread. So you can find that. You can, find that online and order from them. They have a bunch of different like flavors of gluten-free sourdoughs. Um and then like what else do you like to eat that's gluten-free? Do you have any like specific things that you like?
That is gluten free. So I don't buy gluten free per se. I'm actually
Yeah.
trying not to do that much grains, to be honest. I'm trying to get more on a paleo diet.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my aim. And yeah, I don't really like, if they have gluten free toast, I don't take the toast, because I find still that to be optimized energy wise, I
Yeah.
don't really like to eat the grains either, to be honest.
Oh, I feel you on that too. And I'm sort of the same way, except I do feel when people are transitioning off gluten, you do need to
Oh
give
yeah. Oh
something.
yeah, then for sure. I mean, I think that Udo's bread, Udo's,
Mhm,
that is
mhm.
yeah, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's very good too. Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially like kids too, like transitioning them off, like, they could still have a sandwich or whatnot.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, my problem is with my kids because, I live in a household with a husband that he refuses to give up gluten, okay? Like he refuses. He's kind of my rebel because he wants to be opposite of me, kind of, but he's kind of coming my way anyways. But he still hasn't given that up. So, and he just made my son, my 16-year-old, a sandwich to school, right? And I went up and I looked at, he had bought the stuff for the sandwich. I always shop, but he shopped yesterday. So he got this white ciabatta bread, okay? And he's making that and then with potato chips for my son. And it almost kills me, okay? I mean, it does kill me. I'm like, you kidding me? So he's sending that to school with him today. So I'm gonna check out how Brandon is feeling when he comes home today. I'm sure he's fine. I mean, Brandon has like an override of like a really, really positive mental health, like his positive mindset, I guess.
yeah.
So he has that kind of override that I kind of survived on for so many years. But it's definitely not a good choice, is it?
Well, he's just eating the bread with chips? That's it? There's nothing
Oh
else?
no, 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 of course. No, no, it's stacked. It's stacked with like cheese and mayo
Oh,
and turkey and lettuce and onion, mustard, pickles. Like he stacked it like it's so high. It's like the American style sandwich. Swedes don't eat sandwiches like that. We do like a flat thing. Like, oh,
oh,
actually usually a hard bread, and then it goes like one slice of maybe turkey and then one slice of cheese. That's really thin. That's all. And my husband is like, "What is that? It's not a sandwich." So like he's like stacking it like this big thing that you can
right.
hardly put in your mouth. What is that?
I know. I don't know, but it almost seems so unsophisticated to try to eat a giant sandwich, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
how do you do that, like, and look good eating that? Like, you just don't. You know,
Right,
like, you're like, "Oh,
right,
this giant thing," and it's all over your
right.
face and like,
All over your face, and like your lipstick is like screwed up, and your teeth.
"Oh."
I don't
I
know,
feel
right?
like I feel like the Europeans really like, like, even the Brits, they do those little finger sandwiches, and those are,
That's
like,
right. Much
sophisticated.
more sophisticated, right?
I know. Well, at least he had some turkey in that sandwich, so it's gonna, like, lower the spike there at least,
Yeah,
right?
that's good. Yeah, I like how optimistic you are there, Molly, about these things.
Well, you gotta, like, go with some of the positive. At least it wasn't, what we always say is just never eat a naked carb, right? Always make
That's
sure your
right.
carbs have clothes on them. So,
That's
so
right.
like with if you're gonna go eat chips, don't just eat chips by themselves. That's gonna spike your blood sugar. Don't just eat a piece of bread by itself. That's gonna spike your blood sugar. Make sure, like, if you're gonna have chips, eat them with a fat and a protein, like a guacamole or a crab dip, or some kind of other thing that will help break down that refined carbohydrate.
Yeah,
Or even if you're going to have a piece of bread, I think honestly that's why they came up with butter for toast. Like, it lowers the spike putting butter on
right.
your toast, believe it or not. So
Right. The
so
fat,
yeah,
right.
because it's a very, very saturated fat, so it's going to help with the spike. So, but I would also eat a protein too with that if you can manage that. So if you're like, let's say for example, you want to eat ice cream, right? And you just, like, those like memes where it's like the girl's sad and upset or depressed, and she grabs ice cream out of the freezer and she just eats it. Like, so if you're gonna do that, like, before you get to the ice cream, make sure you have like a piece of turkey or a piece of chicken, or you have a little bit of apple cider vinegar in a drink first and drink that. And then you can have the sweet or the refined carbohydrate and it won't affect you as much. Like, so that's just a really good tip. And a
That's
lot
a
of people
great
don't
tip.
know that because
I know.
we are not taught nutrition at all, in school. At least not here. I don't know if in Europe they teach it more, but We
I mean, no, I mean, yeah, a little bit. I mean, the culture is just different there, right? So it's more natural. I mean, you sit down and eat with your family, and like it's just very different. So, in a sense, yeah, they more have the common sense about it. I think, the Europeans just eat better. I would say in general, right? I
yeah.
mean, like even going to Sweden. I mean, even being in Europe recently. I mean, there is not really that many overweight people. Like you don't really see it, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, compared to going to Disney, wow. I mean,
oh, was that a shocker?
oh, it is. I mean, I felt like the skinniest person alive. I was like,
Oh,
it's like,
you are skinny. You
well,
are skinny, but you felt
well, but
even
I'm
skinnier.
well, yeah, I felt like, but okay, if I go to Miami, I don't always feel skinny. It's like a different, it's like, going into one place or another, it's a very different
Right.
feeling. But like going to Disney, you're just like, wow, like there's a lot of overweight people here, and this is like the general public.
Yep,
And
that's
and I,
it.
and I don't want to hate on that at all because overeating is as much a societal problem as it is a personal problem, and it's not all about your
Mhm.
mental fortitude either. It's about just not having education about food and how to eat it
That's
properly.
right.
If
That's
those
right.
people had, if those people had, 2 hours of a nutrition course that taught them about blood sugar regulation and what, they should or shouldn't eat, that would make a big difference, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think maybe we should start that, Molly. Maybe we
Yeah.
should start education. I mean, I love that.
I
Right.
know. Well, I mean, that's what I think.
Going into the school, for example, we should go into the school and
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, yes. All right.
absolutely. Well, and we need to like maybe do a presentation in front of the school lunch,
Yeah.
people.
Oh, yeah.
Although I'm sure they don't want to hear from us. But
They don't want to hear from us. That's the problem.
I
They
even
don't.
thought the other day because my daughter can't, so there's a social issue with like when I send her with a lunchbox, she feels that she's the only kid with a lunchbox and
Okay.
everybody else gets the school lunch. So they're cool and
Yep.
she's different, right?
Yep.
So there's the whole societal aspect of that is hard for her. That it's not even about what she's eating so much. She's like, I don't want to be the only kid with a lunchbox. So then I
100%.
thought, so then I thought to myself, why don't I call them and I'll send like gluten-free breads and products and they could like just keep it on hand for her. And I was like, I don't know if they're gonna do that, but but I'm like, how ridiculous is that I would have to like
How
buy my
ridiculous.
own food.
But hang on, Molly, you might be onto something here. I mean, you might be onto, there
Yeah.
must be more children like your daughter that perhaps it's like, okay, we don't want, like, they're embarrassed to get the lunchbox, but they kind of
Right.
want it and their parents want it. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm sure because if there aren't, I asked her, I said, really, there aren't any other kids who bring their lunch? And she was like, no. I mean, and there's like, there's 33 kids in her class. So I'm like, like, I'm like, oh, well, that stinks because, and then she like
Right.
wants me to pack her something really interesting so that when she opens it and everyone sees it, they're all like, because she's the anomaly, right? So she's like,
Right.
she's the
Right.
novelty where she opens her lunchbox and everyone's like, what do you have? Like, because they all have to eat the school lunch, which isn't even necessarily better. It's just that everyone's doing it, right?
I know. I know.
And they had
Yeah.
changed some of the like if she doesn't have a gluten-free option at in the main meal, I was like, well, can you get a sandwich and I'll send them bread? And she was like, now they stopped making the better sandwiches and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh no. So now all they serve is if you don't want the main meal at school, you have to have either a ham sandwich or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh, goodness.
And
Oh,
it's
goodness.
on boring bread and whatever. And then they had it
Sure.
like a month or two, they were having like a chicken salad sandwich, which was better, and a meatball sub, which was better. And now they don't offer those anymore. I don't know why. Um, and they also don't allow, and the school is going to hate me for saying this, but they also don't allow the younger kids to use the salad bar. And I was like, I was actually going to ask, like, they're going to hate me over there, but I literally was going to call them and be like, can my daughter just use the salad bar because she can't have gluten-free products? She would happily go make herself like a salad or like a veggie something over there,
Right.
but she's not allowed because they claim third graders are not mature enough to use a salad bar.
Oh, goodness. Really?
And I will tell you, my daughter's 9. And I will tell you, like, we were at a salad bar, a couple times a day at Disney, and she was perfectly fine, was not making a mess. They think that they're going to be like making a crazy mess with it and stuff. And I don't know. I just am like, why can't she have that option that the older kids have, to eat? And she's like, I wish I could just eat at the salad bar. They have guacamole. They have like, all kinds of different toppings and things that you can choose from. So
Incredible. She wants healthy and she's kind of forbidden to have it.
yeah,
Right.
it's like, oh, you're too young for that. Yeah, you're too young for the salad bar. I mean, can you imagine?
Right, but
That's a
you can
great
have
thing to
like
teach our
the
kids.
French fries, which will, make you sluggish and perform bad, and that's okay.
Right, exactly.
Oh, oh. Anyways, we should wrap it up, Molly. This has been great conversation.
Yeah, this has been a good one. So if anyone has any questions for Alex or I on gluten and any kind of like food or nutrition stuff, feel
Or
free,
biohacking,
or
biohacking stuff.
biohacking, the red bed and supplements. Like we've got all kinds of answers and interesting things to share. So hit us up. I'm at Molly at detoxcafe.com. And Alex, do you want to share your email?
Yeah, I'm Alexandra at scandilabs.io, and also Instagram is Scandilabs handle. Check it out. So like Scandinavian Laboratories, Scandilabs, and yeah, we would love to hear from you guys. And also what we would love to hear is what you guys want to hear about.
Oh
What do you
yeah.
want to hear us talk about? Because we love talking about this stuff. We love it. Like this is a conversation Molly and I are having in our living room. This is like when Molly and I meet, this is what we talk about. Like this is exactly we are just leisurely conversing. So,
Yeah.
and by the way, we can go on for hours. It's just that we don't tire your ears out. And with my accent too, you might be like exhausted listening to me. So Molly is a little bit more pleasant for the ear.
Oh, please. I don't think so at all. I like your
Yes,
accent.
you
Your
are.
accent is interesting. I'm boring. I'm a boring American. That's boring.
I had a comment I have to say on TikTok, which I posted on like 6 months ago, and there was a comment there and saying, "I get a headache from your accent, lady. Where are you from?" And I think it was some young person that heard me talking about. I was talking about Wi-Fi and keeping your phone on at night. And how not to do that, obviously, and the EMFs and stuff like that. And she's like, "I got a headache from your accent."
She's like, the EMFs didn't give me a headache, but your accent did. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Isn't that
You know,
crazy?
that's the banana brigade though on Instagram. You're gonna get as much love and as hate on Instagram. So you have to be
Oh,
careful with that one.
oh, I really I took it so personally, Molly. I couldn't sleep for days after reading that.
Well, some people do, it's hard to hear those things. And and the way that like humans are programmed is we always remember the negative, right? So much more than the positive. Because I think
But
it's just ingrained in us to like improve ourselves and always like, look at
yes.
that criticism. But you're much better at that than I am, I think you take the criticism and you're just like, okay, I brush it off. Like
Oh, whatever, whatever. You know what? People are going to criticize you no matter what. They're going to have their opinions, and it all comes from really their inner kind of insecurities. Because listen, we are out here, I'm out here, you are out here, and we're trying to help people. How can someone be criticizing on people that are actually trying to do the world something good, right? How can you be negative and criticizing towards those people like Molly and myself? So we're just trying to help. That's all. That's why I'm here on this earth to help, really. So, and I think you're the same, Molly. We're trying to convey this message to other people because we've been through it ourselves.
Yep.
So, and that's why we're here, right?
No doubt. Yep. We're on a purpose-driven path to get people well and hopefully have them not go through all the, stuff that we went through.
That's
So
right. And offer an alternative to the other side, which is
yeah.
Medicaid.
And I also
So
think, yeah, and I also think that like, the way doctors think is they think, oh, nobody can change. So you should just give them a pill. Like nobody is like going to make a lifestyle change and change their diet. And I think that's a little sad of a, you know,
very,
of a, of a,
very
of a philosophy, right? Like, oh, like, you can't tell people what to eat because they're just going to eat whatever they want anyway. Well, I
right.
mean, on some level, I think that's true, but I think that like, everyone's a little different and some people want to make a change if they know it's going to help them. And it's almost like they don't even try because like the doctors are like, whatever, like it's not important. So, we're just here to educate and share our experiences, and hopefully, you take a little bit here and there from what we share.
Yep. I love it. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everyone. We're on Monday today, so beautiful week ahead of us. Um, you know,
Yeah,
sending you lots of good energy and all that good stuff. And see you in a week.
and positivity. Yep. We'll see you.
Yes.
Bye.
Ciao. Ciao.